Welcome to DreamMachine, but right now the way I feel about it, it feels like my nightmare right now.
Welcome to Purgatory, everybody.
Oh, God. I mean, anyone who listened to last week's show knows that we were not looking forward to this movie at all. But after watching this again, oh my freaking goose. Like, this film, I think, definitely deserves some very, very painful discussion. I think we can definitely say. So, shall we just get on with it?
Sure.
I am the Lord of Deadside, Shadowborn at the confluence of worlds to walk between. Lifeside is without the meaning that my partly living possesses here in Deadside, where the darkness is manifest at the edges of reason.
So Shark Tale, previously known as Shark Slayer, is the DreamWorks' ninth film in the series. Despite receiving mixed reviews from critics, somehow this ended up being a box office success, which leaves me and Patricia feeling very confused.
Not only that, but this was nominated for Academy Award for Best Animated Feature.
Yeah. Patricia, please tell me this is one of those years that was not very good for animation.
I'm gonna look and find out, because there has to be a movie that came out in 2004. Oh, wait! Incredibles!
Oh, you've got to be freaking kidding me. And tell me, I mean, okay, that's one other nomination, but was there no other animated films that could have been nominated except this?
Let's take a look to see what 2004 entailed us.
Okay.
Okay, so we have The Incredibles, as mentioned.
Yeah.
We have Shrek 2, as mentioned.
Yeah.
From last week. And then we have Shark Tale. This was back when it was just 3 nominations. It wasn't until, believe it or not, 2009 that we had 5 nominations.
Wow.
With,
no one, here's the thing. No one else, apparently, on planet Earth was animating a film, apparently, in 2004. Except for these 3.
You know what? You have convinced me to look up any animated film that might have been at least into the runnings for animated features that deserve to be nominated for an Oscar.
While you do
I can't believe that this is one of them.
While you're doing that, let me talk about this headache that I currently have at the moment. So, we've got this fish called Oscar, who is an underachieving fish, and he fantasizes about being rich and famous and making his way to the top. And by following in his father's footsteps, who was apparently a local tongue scrubber at the Whale Wash, which really isn't that much, doesn't really inspire all that much. And so Oscar is trying to work way further from that. And but problem is that this mission that he currently is on consumes this character to an awful extent, to the point where it's like it kind of brings out, probably, dare I say, this probably brings out the worst out of Will Smith before After Earth. Like,
he just plays himself as this overconfident fish who believes that he deserves to be treated in the absolute most respect. And it just really sickens me of all the things that he would do so he can be able to get himself to the top. Even so much as, like, getting his friend's, pearl necklace that belonged to her family, selling it off, and then betting it at the horse races. It's like just a slap in the face as well as a kick in the balls.
On top of that, well, it's like she ends up getting kidnapped by the mob, and she ends up in all sorts of other wrapped up in all this other, a mess that Oscar has created, and it's like, and somehow she ends up getting with him in the end. Like,
how? Why?
That is bullshit. I'm sorry to use that language here on the Old School Lane podcast, but to me, like, there's no redeemable factors about Oscar at all. Like, he literally is scamming people, even friends. No, dare I say, thankfully not family. I bet probably all his family probably abandoned him because he's such a scummy bastard.
I wouldn't be surprised. And don't worry about the swearing. Trust me, we've had people such as some jerk from Boston and Nero Angeles who swear up and down, and they have really foul mouths, but I still love them nonetheless. But yeah, to be going back to Oscar, yeah, he's just a scumbag, and yet at the same time we're supposed to relate to him being the good guy, and yeah, we have no idea about like what kind of crap he was pulling off in terms of like the mafia, like really, and he had a huge debt that he had to pay off. Like he must have done some really scummy stuff. And I'm sorry for the bad pun, but no, I'm not sorry for the bad pun, because that's the best pun you're going to hear throughout this entire podcast.
Even the movie itself has no good puns.
Yes.
Even the sushi pun, like at the very beginning, even felt forced. That joke should probably gone over far better than it had, but I think the fact that it was so rushed in, it had no chance to be appreciated, I don't think.
Yeah, like Muscle Crowe and Katie Current. God help me.
Yeah, no, it's
kind of funny that you mentioned the puns thing, because I just received a comment not too long ago on our Spirit podcast of somebody saying, please stop doing puns on your show. It's not funny.
Yeah, well...
But to be fair, I'm sure that our puns are much funnier than anything you're going to hear in Shark Tale.
Yeah, I think I would agree on that. So, you have Will Smith basically being the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, dare I say, I would say this is what would have probably happened to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air if the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air had basically had the same run as The Simpsons currently has. It basically becomes Zombie Bel-Air, pretty much. And that's... for me, that's probably what would have happened, I think, maybe if Fresh Prince of Bel-Air had been allowed to go on too long. They'd all become fish. And this is basically what would happen to Will Smith later on in the show.
Yeah, this is essentially what would have happened if Will Smith from Bel-Air was written poorly.
Yeah.
Instead of, he had his jerky moments, but at the same time, he did have a lot of heart, and he did have a lot of charm to him that was able to make him very fun to watch. But here in Shark Tale, no.
Yeah. I also want to talk about that as well. Don't you feel like this should have had some kind of laughing track behind it? It just feels very barren, I think, when you're hearing all the jokes and no one's laughing at them. I watched this with a bunch of friends for the first time. When I didn't actually go to the cinemas to watch it, I actually saw it on DVD, and I was in a room full of friends. I can't remember exactly what the deal was, but we just ended up sitting down and watching it. And I guarantee you, there was maybe a little bit of chuckling, but not all laugh out loud. This was a group of friends who I know watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and watched other comedies that were kind of around that genre, and I guarantee you, no one was laughing as hard as when that film, pretty much. So it was not funny, and so then so you've got Angie, who basically is just poorly written as a love interest, pretty much. And there are times when she has some kind of redeeming factors, or saying I'm the only one who no one liked me when I was nobody, and she said I did, to which I would say, okay, good on you, but why? I just there was that, and then you had Angelina Jolie brought in as Lola for
and she's supposed to be the fish that Oscar has a crush on and wants to get with.
Yeah,
but she's just so shallow that. And the fact that she later betrays him, it doesn't faze me in the slightest that she would do that. She's just only dating Oscar because he's the shark slayer and he's popular and famous.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much it.
So, I mean, obviously the reason why he becomes the Shark Slayer, I think we should probably explain, is because there's this mafia shark family run by Robert De Niro, and so there's this shark called Lenny, who basically is a vegan, I believe, and doesn't eat other species, and because he doesn't feel like it's right. So Frankie takes him out into the middle of the ocean. Frankie gets hit by an anchor, and shenanigans happen, and everyone thinks that it was actually Oscar who punched Frankie's lights out and killed him. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And so throughout the entire movie, he is praised as the shark slayer. And then Lenny comes along and says, I don't want to be a part of my shark mafia family because I'm a vegetarian. So how about if you like kill me off and I disguise myself as other sharks, and then in return I change into a dolphin, work at the whale wash, and try to live a normal, happy life that I want to because I don't eat fish and I'm nothing like my dad.
Mm-hmm. So, basically, as you can probably tell, this is another movie about the liar reveal. So, yep. It's like if probably the first, the second, maybe the third, maybe the 50th time wasn't enough for you, here's another one for you. So, like, here's just another, same old story, and with just, so Oscar becomes massively famous, and then, obviously these dance things happen, and then he settles the with Sykes to go 50-50 on the 5Gs, and because he's gonna go all the way to the top, I guess. And so then it's revealed that Lenny has ran away from his family, and then he cuts a deal with Oscar to basically look like he's fake his own death and get knocked off by the shark slayer, and then he becomes a dolphin. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that at first it did sound kind of a clever way for Lenny to disguise himself as a dolphin so he can live a normal life. Because, I mean, I think that the disguise part is actually pretty unique, and the fact that he just wants to live a normal life amongst other fish because he doesn't want to eat them. Again, I'm a lot of people are going to bring up the comparison to Finding Nemo, in which you have a bunch of sharks that don't want to eat fish because they're sworn by it.
Yeah, but unlike Finding Nemo, where like Shark Tale was awful and Finding Nemo was good. So
yeah,
like
yeah.
they
And a lot of people think that this is where DreamWorks was trying to, catch up on Pixar in terms of their popularity, because this is when Pixar was hitting like hit after hit after hit out of the park. They did at least around the 2000s there was Monsters Inc. There was Finding Nemo, and then The Incredibles, which came out of the same year as Shark Tale, which thankfully Incredibles won over Shark Tale, thank God. But it actually begs the question, because Shrek 2 and The Incredibles were like in the running. Like, do you think The Incredibles deserve to have won, or do you think Shrek 2 should have won?
I would say The Incredibles does deserve to win, because it was I think Incredibles had a deeper story, I think, along with making us laugh. I think the
That's
fact
true.
that
Yeah, I agree.
superhero.
Incredibles did deserve to win that, which I do have the list, by the way, but we'll get to that at the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
But I did like the idea of a shark that tries to reform himself, because we've had that stereotypical notion about like in Jaws, in which they eat people and then they attack them, and they're sharks are bad. But I think that in modern media,
I don't know. It makes me wonder if the idea. I mean, that's probably what makes me feel more uncomfortable about this world. The fact that oh hey, here's this shark, and it's being told that all you do is eat fish, so we don't like you. And
yeah, but here's the thing. In reality, sharks are very like gentle creatures. It's only when they're being bothered is when they start attacking. You more likely get struck by lightning than get attacked by a shark.
Exactly, but I mean, in the whole fish city, apparently sharks are like this. These evil things.
These
and
monsters,
things these monsters,
which there's a lot worse creatures out there than sharks.
Yeah, and it's surprising that, but mind you, at least it's I mean, dare I say, probably is this fish world probably more crueler than the fairy tale land that Shrek was in.
Exactly. And the whole thought about like the shark mafia, which you have Robert De Niro in it, which Robert De Niro is very well known in a lot of gangster movies, like in Goodfellas.
Yeah.
I and The Godfather 2. I would think that maybe they would have played it a little bit more creative, but instead they just make it into like a generic mafia crowd. It's like do something more original in terms of that. But no, it's just in reality, it's just a generic mafia crowd. And it has he's associated with Oscar's boss and the whale wash, and oh man, it's just
Yeah. The great thing about this is actually I don't sort of fault Robert De Niro's performance all that much. Like,
no, I don't. It's just that he's wasted in this role.
He is, isn't he? Like, I mean, I would rather see Robert De Niro, do something. If he was going to play a gangster in a film, or like play a villain, like in a film. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'd actually, if they do like The Incredibles 3, I'd actually like to see Robert De Niro as like, the villain of that. Like,
it would have been great. I would love to see that because, very similar to how in Pixar they reuse a lot of their voice actors. DreamWorks, they reuse a lot of their voice actors a lot. Like a lot. Like Renee Zellweger, this isn't going to be the last time you're going to hear her. She's in the Bee movie, which we'll talk about later, and a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah, I talk about that as well. Like, Mike Myers, Shrek. I mean, I know the Shrek series. I mean, obviously you got to have Mike Myers as Shrek and Eddie Murphy as Donkey and Cameron Diaz.
And then also Jack Black.
Such.
Jack Black, this is his first appearance in a DreamWorks movie, and it certainly will not be his last, and this will not be the character everybody remembers him for.
I'll tell you what, though, like, it makes because I remember him, he actually made a joke about when he was, like, announcing one of the animated categories. I can't remember what year it was, but he said, oh, well, if I want to make a load of money, I basically make a DreamWorks film, and then I bet all the money on Pixar to win, to win the Oscar. And
that's something Jack Black would say.
It is something Jack Black would say, yeah. So, we got to be honest with everybody. Like, the characters are poor. The story is just there. It's not worth talking about, really. Like, the whole, Oscar basically creates his own mess and cleans it all. Well, not really cleans it all up afterwards. Basically, just gets, it's still a mess at the end of it, pretty much. Probably imagine.
Yeah, and for some reason, everybody's just okay with it.
Yeah, everyone's just okay with it. The fact that, it was an anchor that killed Frankie. Like, oh, you hit the death of like the Robert De Niro's son, and you hit it all this time, like, and he just seems to just slowly forgive it. And like, the ending was a massive cop out as well. Like, everything in this is just just garbage.
Yeah, and the fact that he was able to just live his normal life again as soon as, the whole Shark Mafia thing was dealt with, it's like now all of a sudden Oscar is the co-manager of the Whale Wash, and then he's starting to date the Renee Zellweger fish. It's like, where did all of this come from? It's like at the end, Oscar should be like redeeming all the things that he did, but he did so in a haphazardly way that he still wins and he's still the jerk.
Do you think Shark Tale was this slow decline of Will Smith, do you think? Like,
let's see. I mean, what was Will Smith even doing in 2004?
I mean, like, because it was, what was Will Smith doing in that time? Because I'll have a look at his filmography and see if I can find anything.
Yeah, go ahead.
Filmography, here we go.
I mean, like, I know that later on in the 2000s he was doing really well. Like, I know that he was doing.
So in 2004, he did Jersey Girl, where he cameoed as himself. He did I, Robot, which he played obviously that detective. He was the executive producer of The Seat Filler. He was also the producer of Saving Face, and then a year later he was in Hitch. So
so he was doing really good with himself. So I take it that this was like Will Smith's attempt of, hey, I'm going to be in a cartoon. And then this is how it came out. It's like with Chris Rock saying, like, if I want to make $100 million, I just have to play as myself. And yeah, that's the mentality that celebrities, they think that if they play themselves, that's going to be like a great performance.
Yeah.
But no, it's just them playing themselves in a cartoon. I'll
tell you what, though, I'm just looking at the other films after Shark Tale. I'm starting to think. I'm wondering if this is the kind of like the start of the downfall of Will Smith, because I mean, after before that he was in. I mean, obviously he did Wild Wild West in 1999. Yeah. I'm not going to say that.
And he did Ali in 2001.
Yeah. To be fair, because look at some of the films that he did before Shark Tale. He did Independence Day. He did Men in Black. He did Enemy of the State, and he was in the Ali documentary, and he did Bad Boys 2, and Bad Boys 1, obviously. And but then, just think about this for a second. Right after Shark Tale, get this right, he does I Am Legend, which, I think some is in a middle-of-the-road film. He did Hancock, and then he did the remake of The Karate Kid, and then he did Men in Black 3. And then he did After Earth. and then he did a cameo in Anchorman 2, I think, which is probably, and obviously some of the other ones are like, he did Bright, which was panned, and he did Suicide Squad, which was panned. And so really, I mean, and then his next big thing coming up is going to be when he's going to play the genie in Aladdin, and oh my goodness, is that going to be, is that going to really, that's really going to, this could go either way. Like he can either be a really good genie or it could be a really bad genie. Like,
I'm actually curious about what's going to happen because we've talked about this in the Aaron Meta show about we are really conflicted about Will Smith playing as the genie. Like we don't know what is he going to play as, like Prince of Bel-Air genie, or is he just going to be like Oscar genie?
I don't know. We're going to find out pretty soon enough. But as you can probably imagine, this film was massively panned by critics. The reasons why people hate this movie, and they actually list this up here in the notes. The characters look so much like their voice actors. Also ugly looking as well. Unfunny jokes in a mean-spirited environment, which I brought up as well. Many forced pop cultures, including jokes that make no sense. Oscar just being a bad person and a jerk in general. On-screen death and using it for dark comedy. Ignorant attempts at comedy, and Lenny's subplot, which bears a strong resemblance to problems of people in the LGBT community. So it's okay. Yeah. So Rotten Tomatoes gave this 38%, which is probably like the lowest rated DreamWorks film, I think, on Rotten Tomatoes, I believe.
Yeah, I think it is.
And also Metacritic gave it about 5.2 out of 48 out of 100, I think, out of 36 reviews. So compare this.
All right. Well, I guess we can just flat out say this, that I think that we have covered the worst. And if we're going to tackle other DreamWorks movies that are pretty bad, at least it will not be in the level of this.
Yeah, it's just, it's like, I mean, I'm trying to find a scene which we can like put some praise on, like, the scene where he's like being attacked by the Jamaican jellyfish, or the one at the racetrack, or when he confronts the mafia, or when they go into that chase scene, or just none of it. I think we could say was any good. Can we say? Like besides the fact that Robert De Niro was Robert De Niro, which he can play very well because all it is himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you want to see a movie where you have talking fish, then watch Finding Nemo.
Yeah. Well, that was...
Anyway, so I finally brought up the list of the top 10 animated features of 2004 that made money. So, okay. Sadly, like I mentioned before, I might as well do a top 8 because 9 and 10 are from Japan, but I might as well mention it anyway. Okay. All right, so number 10 is Detective Conan, Magician of the Silver Sky, making $22 million, which we never got. Number 9 is Doraemon, Nobita in the One Neon Space-Time Odyssey, which made $26 million. Again, we never got. So here we go. Number 8 is Pokemon Destiny Deoxys, making $34 million.
Okay.
Number 7 is Home on the Range, which made $103 million, which many people consider Home on the Range to be the worst animated Disney feature.
Wow, I think, I definitely wouldn't be putting that up for an Academy Award. I definitely tell you that. So
yeah, it didn't even get close to an Academy Award. This movie has been panned so much, and Home on the Range essentially killed off 2D animation, and then it was brought back with Enchanted and Princess and the Frog. So it pretty much just killed off its the 2D animation until 4 or 5, 6 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, number 6 is the Spongebob SquarePants movie, which made $140 million, which we did discuss about in our tribute to Steven Hillenburg.
I'm really surprised that didn't politic its way into the Academy Awards, when you think about it. Like, if you think about it, SpongeBob SquarePants was a huge deal at that time, and you would think that one of the nominations would have been the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, regardless of whether it was good or not.
Yeah. Number 5 is Howl's Moving Castle, which made $235 million, which Studio Ghibli, of course.
That's a classic. I'm really surprised that didn't get thrown up for an award.
Yeah, I mean, Spirit. Maybe it did. Maybe for the foreign films. I'll have to double check that, but I wouldn't be surprised. Number 4 is The Polar Express, which made $307 million.
Yeah, but wasn't that not so good? I don't think Polar Express. Okay, I don't know. Like,
I mean, it does have the uncanny valley animation, and some of the story bits are a bit padded at points, like they shouldn't even be there. But I can understand why a lot of people really like it. I do like it in some points in which I do like the message of whether or not to believe in Santa, and it's fine. It's not one of my favorite Christmas movies, but I think it's fine.
Okay.
Number 3 is Shark Tale.
Mm-hmm.
Which made $367 million, which is probably why it got nominated for an Oscar in the first place.
Yeah, but not a SpongeBob SquarePants movie, which really kind of baffles me a little bit, but go on.
Number 2 is The Incredibles, which made $631 million.
Which should have been, which obviously, I think was the winner of the animated award, I believe.
The Oscar? Yes, it was.
The winner of the Oscar?
It won.
So what was number 1?
Number 1 is Shrek 2, which made $919 million.
Wow. I'm really surprised, because wasn't Shrek 2 also one of the nominees?
It was. Shrek 2, The Incredibles, and Shark Tale were all nominated, and they were in the top 3. Nothing else, Polar Express did come, like, close to Shark Tale's budget, but yeah, it was those 3 that were, like, the biggest hits. Nothing else came close. And I take it that was why the Oscars decided to put these 3 amongst the listing of, Oscars for Best Animated Feature. And yeah, The Incredibles won over Shrek 2.
Mm-hmm. So, that is it. And I can't believe we managed to scrape out 25 minutes of this.
Yeah, oh my God.
I'm sorry.
We could have. I think that we would. I probably think we could have done the same thing in like 10 seconds. Just like, this movie sucks.
Goodbye.
Have a good week.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Pretty much. So, so what have we got next week?
All right. So next week we'll be covering our final DreamMachine for 2018, and it's going to be Christmas. So that means we'll be discussing about Rise of the Guardians.
Okay, and we're looking forward to that. So definitely more than we are looking forward to this. So for me, Aaron.
And Patricia.
Take care. And don't watch this film.
No. Get away from this film. Watch Finding Nemo.
Yes, please. Goodbye.
Bye.